Hey, everybody, welcome to another awesome episode of MD Power Hour with me, Ron Harris, and all the way from Tiger Towers in the United Kingdom, Sir Giles Tiger Thomas. What's up, Giles?
Ron, you're going to have to bear with me. I'm a little bit mutton Jeff today.
What does that mean?
Jeff.
You can't hear very well? Is that what you're saying?
No, mutton Jeff. So I've got this, the stuff you have to put in your ears to clear it.
Yeah.
Well, for a few days, it gets worse before it gets better.
Oh, gosh.
So
Okay.
my left ear now is like, I can't hear anything. So if I talk over you slightly or whatever, I have to ask you to repeat something. Please be patient with me because it was funny, like in the studio with Derek, and I said, we do the sound checks when the guest comes on. And I said to Derek, I said, I'm going to have to rely on you completely now. I said, because I can't tell whether I'm loud, because the sound bars, they have to be equal for the guest and me. And I said, Derek, I'm completely reliant on you for this one, mate. I said, because I ain't got a clue. So yeah, but we pulled it off. So it's all good.
Well, I have a lot of hearing loss in my right ear, so I can relate.
Yeah.
I got this in the mail yesterday or a couple days ago.
Yay! I'm jealous.
The August issue of Muscular Development with Logan Franklin on the cover. And inside we have how many pages of MD Global? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of MD Global Muscle Buzz. I can take the post-it off now.
Nice.
So a lot of guys that we have been covering on the recent European shows you featured in there. You got Crezo, of course you got Jack and Andrew, but I like how you put the new guys from Spain. You got Jose Manuel Munoz and Joan Pradell's in there. You got the new Wellington, what's his name? They call him Nesco.
Wellington.
Yeah, I mean, some amazing new talent we've been seeing in the shows.
And
So
big thank you there to Jonathan Morio for supplying me with the pictures, because I'll be honest, I'll put it out there. Sometimes I've actually had to pull news items because we haven't been able to source good quality photos that we have permission to use. And Jonathan Morio, who the photographer for Emilio, who he does a lot of the shows around Europe, he's kind of established himself as like the number one in, he's absolutely amazing, and he gets them to me within a couple of hours. And the thing is that's such a. In fact, he supplied all the pictures for the Ashley Colt Wasser feature we did, all exclusive images. So big thank you there to Jonathan Morio, because they're good quality. He gets them to us quick, and he just says, "Look, just give me a credit." And so it's like I said, it enables me to not just focus on the guys that I know we've got images of. So it really, really helps give these guys in Europe some really added exposure. So thank you, Jonathan.
we've got an upcoming feature that you're writing about Laszlo Kurali from Hungary, and Jonathan's stage photos from his win in, was it Italy? No, where was that show?
Italy,
Yeah, it was the Chiru Classic in Italy. Spectacular. Some of the best pictures I've seen. And this guy's damn good. So let's get into it. We have another big contest. We have a contest every weekend this summer, it looks like, with rare exceptions. This weekend is the Chicago Pro, Tim Gardner's annual show. It's actually happening 3 days in a row. It takes 3 days and nights to get through all the divisions, because Thursday, Tim always features masters divisions for everything, like over 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60 for every division. So that takes a whole day to get through. That's Thursday. Friday, they're breaking it down to women's bodybuilding, 212 and classic physique. And then on Saturday, they're going to have figure, men's physique, bikini, and open bodybuilding. So we are going to be doing some coverage on Saturday after judging and finals wrap up. But Tim Gardner Productions is where you guys want to head for all the info. Get the pay-per-view there, Tim Gardner Productions. And looking at this lineup, let's start with, I'm going to start with a guy that just appeared on the list this morning. We're recording on a Wednesday before the show. I didn't know when he was competing next. I didn't know if, first of all, about a year ago, I would say this guy's probably all done competing. I'm talking about Jonathan De La Rosa. He moved to Florida a few years back. He opened up a really cool gym in Sawgrass. I can't recall the name, but it's on his Instagram. So Jonathan is working with your good friend, Patrick Tour. And I've seen him getting sharper and sharper. He's been posting some pictures and videos, wondered when he was going to compete, kind of tried to get an interview. And I think he wanted to keep this one quiet, which is why we didn't really nail down interview time. But Jonathan won this show in 2015. 8 years ago, he won this.
Yeah.
2019, he had a good run. He won the Toronto Pro. He was working with, I believe, Neil Hill at the time, and the Puerto Rico Pro, same year. And the last time this guy has appeared on stage was a little over 3 years ago when he took third place at the New York Pro to Ian Valliere and Justin Rodriguez. Man, Jonathan De La Rosa, I had a favorite for the show, and now I'm not so sure if it's going to be him, the new guy, or him. But talk to me about Jonathan, because this is a guy that we've both been very familiar with for a long time.
Well, why did he stop competing? Was it because of the gym?
Yeah, it was like a full time. He built that. Him and his Sean, Sean? This is a business partner, another IFBB pro. They built that thing from the ground up. They did all the work themselves, and they spent a lot of time really making a success. As we talk, I'm gonna have to find out the name of it, because I sound like an idiot not knowing the name of his gym now.
Well, I'm really happy to hear him come back, because like you, I think like some of us, like with Steve Kuklo now, we're like, is he going to compete again? Is he done? And you kind of, sometimes you can get a sense of the way they post or whether they don't post. You get a feeling, you just get a kind of feeling in your gut that they're all done and they just haven't announced it yet. You know, like Ruli, like, is he going to compete? Is he not? So I'm really happy to hear him come back. I thought he did a good job with Neil Hill. But the thing is, like, he's one of those guys, he has to nail, I know it sounds like a silly thing to say, but he has to nail the conditioning, because he's kind of like a shorter, like a Hassan type guy. You know, if he's not really, really, really dialed in, it doesn't look right, because he's got so much muscle. I really like his breathable bicep. He was actually one of my favorites back in, you know, like sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I thought he was really underrated. So I'm really, really happy to hear him come back. And I'm like you, I tried to get him on Global. He read the message, but he didn't respond. And like I said to you before we started filming, I never take that personal when they're right before a show, because, you know, I mean, thing is, think about how nerve-wracking it is for you. You know, if you are coming back, you know, and in 3 years, I mean, a lot can happen in 3 years in the industry. A lot can happen with your own body. So, I mean, I saw the couple of pictures on Patrick Tour's Instagram, and I was really, really like, you look good, you look fantastic. So, and you know, Patrick will do the absolute best job he can do with him. So he's got a good he's got his kind of best chance with success working with someone like Patrick Tour. So I just hope he nails it. I just hope it'd be interesting to see if that 3 years off has done him good in terms of his physique improving, or whether he's gonna struggle to look as good as he did. Because, you know, sometimes when athletes get to a certain age, time off can do them good, or sometimes it's like one of the worst things they can do. They lose too much momentum. So let's see how his body looks. I'm not aware that he's had any injuries.
Nope. No.
Yeah.
So want to let you guys know, it's Fitness Systems Sawgrass. I was actually in Sawgrass last year at a big outdoor shopping plaza, outlets and stuff, but I was there with the family. Didn't have time to pop over and train at his gym, but I've heard it's phenomenal. Fitness System Sawgrass. And I agree, he needs to be 100% conditioned. I was at several shows where he ended up taking second or third. And if he had been a little bit sharper, that he probably would have taken it. So this is a good chance for him.
He's one of these guys, he's not missing anything. He's not, and that's the thing, it all comes down to his conditioning. So I just hope he kind of, it's not an anticlimax, because if he comes back, I say he does like 2 or 3 shows, and yeah, he gets better with each one. I kind of, when someone takes time off, you kind of want to see them come back with a bang. You don't want to just see them come back and like, oh, he's 70%. Oh, he'll be all right. He'll be better in 3 weeks when he does another show. If he does Texas or something, I want to kind of see him like, you know, okay, this is a guy that's won pro shows. He's done Olympias. You know, there is kind of high expectations on athletes like that. And the thing is, it hasn't been so long that there's an absolute, absolutely for sure he's not going to look good, because he probably is going to look really, really good. And I think there's expectations for him to look as good as he did when he's making top 3s at the New York Pros and winning, like you said, he won this show 8 years ago. So it's nice to see him come back to a show that he's won as well. So like I said, I'm just happy to see him come back, really. And I just hope I just hope when he turns around, he hits that amazing, because that front double bicep and the rear double bicep, I mean, those are real lights out shots. So, so just like I said, really happy to see him come back.
Yeah. And so this is probably one of the most anticipated pro debuts that we've had in quite a while. It's Justin Shier. Is it Shier? I think it's Shier. Yeah, he actually says it on his Instagram, how to pronounce his name. Kind of like Shier. So Justin Shier, he won the nationals as a heavyweight, 225 pounds. I'm sure he's heavier than that now. That was 2021. So he took off all of 22 and a good chunk of 2023, because we're already in July. And man, just the update photos I've been seeing, videos especially, There's that one he posted on his Instagram where he hits the front double bicep, and good Lord, that is a lights out shot for him. He's just got the structure, the shape, so much size, round muscle bellies. I would not be a bit surprised if Justin knocks it out of the park and wins his pro debut here.
Well, there's a lot of, you see, I'll be honest, until I saw that progress video he posted a few days ago, I was kind of scratching my head a little bit with him, and also what people were saying about Carlos Thomas Jr., who won the super heavyweights in the 21 nationals, but also hasn't made his pro debut yet. And people and fans are saying with absolute certainty that he's going to win a pro debut. He's going to win shows this year. And I'm thinking, well, unless he's showing a lot on his YouTube or his Instagram stories or something that I'm not seeing, you must know a lot about his physique and the gains he's made since he turned pro to feel like, I mean, it was a lot of people saying it, and it really confuses me. And then I saw that progress video, and when he's really, because he's in condition now. This was a video that showed you pretty much 98% of what we're going to see on stage this weekend. So I was really, when he hit that side tricep, I mean the stripy delts. I mean,
stripy delts.
Very, very happy. But for me, it's that, like you said, it's that frontal bicep, because he's got those crazy lats. And thing is now, like if you watch when he turned pro at the nationals, he got that crazy, like, wide shoulders, small waist, but he really did lack size. And I think if the fans were basing, on that showing, I'm thinking, guys, he's not going to be winning. You can't say he's going to win a show with such certainty unless he's really improved. And when I saw that video, I was like, okay, he really has improved. He's a lot thicker. But there was a lot of expectation on Justin. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen such certainty and expectation around an athlete making their pro debut. Like I said, probably Carlos, actually. I don't know. I think for me, I'm seeing a bit of a trend. It's a bit of a new thing where, like I said, fans and followers are kind of like, because normally guys come in and pro debuts and there's no pressure, there's no expectation, because you don't know how they're going to look. But I've noticed a bit of a change in I think because of people like Nick Walker doing well from the outset, and what other pros have done well, like Derek Lunsford in 2017.
Andrew Jack last year was. Andrew Jack, I think a lot of it has to do with social media, but Crizzo, it's because these people, I think social media and YouTube and everything has given these guys such a platform to build a big fan base before they step on a pro stage, that they now have a massive fan base before they're even competing in their first pro show. So now if a guy has 1 million followers, that's 1 million people that are waiting to see this guy get on stage as a pro.
Yeah, I've noticed it now. I think maybe it's because they are because now I think pro bodybuilders now see YouTube and social media and actually putting out a lot of stuff before they even, because before guys would, I mean, when Flex Wheeler showed up at the 93 Ironman, I mean, yeah, he looked good at the USA the year before, but nobody kind of really expected that. I mean, I remember around the time, I mean, this was obviously before the days of social media, so the fans couldn't interact and discuss these kind of things. And you never really, there was, like I said, there was no pressure. But I think the pressure now on, and then when you get guys like a Nick Walker or a Crizzo that instantly do well, I can imagine like the pressure that Carlos is under now, because now he's postponed his, his pro debut, and, and he's posting these crazy pictures, like fans literally are fully expecting a win on their pro debut. And to be honest, let's just remind ourselves, winning your pro debut it's not a normal thing. That is a once every couple of years thing. I think if you're lucky, if you really look on, with the amount of time you and I have been in the sport, this is not something that is typical, but it seems to be happening, and it seems to be expected from all good new pros now. So yeah, but Justin, like I think fans are going to be disappointed if he doesn't win this, and I'm thinking, well, give the guy a chance, because and also I said, I mean, I love watching his. For me, it's training porn. The form, like form porn.
Yeah.
Like I love watching like his back workouts. I mean, the technique that guy uses, it's like absolutely flawless, and it's good as well to see, guys not throwing weights around using shitty form, because, a lot of young guys now, a lot of, newbies and fans and followers, a lot of them get their kind of training instruction from the pros, from their social media. So to see a guy like that, like, I think it's a really good thing to put out now. So, but yeah, so I like him. I think he's a cool guy. Trying to get him on global as well. We spoke last week about it, and yeah, I think he's probably on paper. I think, like I said, even though we've not seen him on stage as a pro yet, it seems to be that he is the favorite to win this.
Well, I'll be talking to him today, and I'm not sure if that'll be posted before or after this, but I do have questions for him about how much weight he's put on because he looks substantially larger than me. I'm very curious. A few questions
Not
for him.
bigger.
Next
But then
up,
again, maybe he's one of these guys. Sorry, maybe he's one of these guys that I forget who I had on the other week, and he said, I said, God, you look so much bigger than I forget. It'll come to me. How much bigger you were in your pro debut? And he said, I was 8 pounds heavier. And I'm like, mate, it looks so much more than that. But yeah. So, but he's obviously been working hard. I can tell you that now.
8 pounds of new muscle tissue is nothing to sneeze at, guys. That's substantial. That's all. Put 8 pounds. I always say the old Mike Menser thing. Put 8 pounds of steak on a table in front of you. That's 8 pounds of lean muscle tissue. That's a big chunk of steak. So next up, Blessing Awodibu, the boogeyman, hasn't been seen since the Olympia. He had a great season last year until the Olympia. Obviously, he won the 2 shows that he had bombed out at the year before, the Indy Pro and the New York Pro. I shouldn't say bombed out, but he didn't win them. Comes back and wins those. Didn't do very well at the Olympia. I don't know if he's working with anybody. The last I spoke with him, he was coaching himself with just trusted people to be a second set of eyes for him. He had been with George Farah. He had been with Chad. But Blessing Awodibu definitely has to be one of the favorites for this. He's the only, aside from Jonathan, he's the only guy on this list. I shouldn't say that. Patrick Moore's won a show, but he's got a pretty good track record. Which I'm curious to see if he's been able to bring up the legs a little bit, because obviously upper body and legs with Blessing, especially the quads, been kind of an issue. Always want to see those quads a little fuller, a little more sweepy to balance out. He's got that tremendous lat spread, shoulder width, just a freaky upper body. But Blessing's definitely still a favorite to win this.
Yeah, you got me nervous about saying he's coaching himself. That's got me nervous. And I've not seen any. And normally he always posts at least 1 or 2, and I've not seen anything. So I don't. There's a big question mark here. I'm hoping it kind of falls in the favor that he looks really good, and there's a reason why he's not posted any pictures or videos, because he's looking so good, or maybe he's learning from the past that he needs to maybe keep it quiet. Maybe it's a new approach he's doing now. Maybe sometimes, like, the thing is, sometimes like sponsors will say, please post something, and maybe now he's took it upon himself to say, no, actually I don't want to. I just want to reveal it on show day. But I remember being in my bloody hospital bed last year, and I remember the thing that's burnt into my mind is that front lat spread from the Indy Pro when he was next to Charles Griffin. I mean, he looked. I think he looked better there at the Indy than he did at the New York Pro. I mean, the lighting was slightly better at Indy, but I mean, you could see there just how much. I remember how he turned around a lot of fans, like haters and stuff. That because he really did look good at that show, and he did make significant improvements. So, and I know he's got a baby on the way, so sometimes that gives athletes a real fire under their ass. I mean, I think Sean Clarida. I mean, he's just a machine anyway. I mean, nothing would deter a bloody nuclear war would not deter that guy. Nothing could distract that guy. So, and I'm hoping Blessing's kind of the same. But I'll tell you a funny story. Obviously when I did that interview at the Olympia, Meet the Olympians, when I walked up, Steve said, "Get Blessing." And I was like, okay, no problem. So I went at Blessing, and when you had the boogeyman shades on, and he was it, and he had his body language is like, okay, this is not Blessing, this is the boogeyman I'm going to be talking to. Yep. So I went in and I kind of just hoped for the best, and he kind of ripped me a new one. He said, "Giles, I kind of took it personal. You didn't have me in the top 10. You and Ron Harris." He says, "I mean, you're a fellow Englishman, and you didn't have me in your top 10." And I'm just like that, and he was ripping into me, and obviously the thing is, he had a video guy there as well, so I knew he was playing the persona. And it's funny, the next day, because I did that, I went to see Ronnie, went for lunch with Ronnie, and I had to do that, an episode of Nothing But a Podcast. And afterwards, we went back to the Planet Hollywood, and we walked in with Ronnie, and Jay comes over. And so obviously I hadn't seen Jay since, in the year and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, great to see you," and everything like that. And he said, "Hey, Giles," he said, I was watching your interviews last night. He says, you'll meet the Olympians. He says, he burst out laughing. He said, "I thought Blessing was going to kill you." And I was like, oh my God, Jay Cutler watches our videos. So he said,
Awesome.
yeah, he watched all of them. He said he watched all of them. He said he watched all the Meet the Olympia ones that we did, you know, the live ones we did. So, but it's funny because he burst out laughing. He says, I honestly thought Blessing was going to kill you.
Wow. I saw a video last year. Actually, maybe I shouldn't repeat it, but it was at the gym, and Johnny Styles had said some things about his legs and so forth, and yeah, Blessing was very upset. I mean, it's like I said, it's hard for any of these guys to take physique critiques objectively, because it's their body, it's their livelihood, it's their identity. It's tough for them not to take it personally. I don't know how many of them successfully do that. So, you know, when we say these things to guys, we want them to be the very best they can be. We want to see them bring up any weak body parts. We want to see condition at the best, posing. We want to see everyone at 100%, because that's when the contests are really, really exciting, when it's a whole stage full of guys who are incredible. And then you're like, oh my God, what do we do? It's better.
Yes, it's their job, but it's also our job to critique.
Of course.
It's our job to critique them so they can then go away, work on it, be aware of it, do what it needs to do what they need to do, come back and actually be better athletes. So I will never ever backtrack, ever. Because you've always got to, if you consider yourself a credible journalist, then you take your job seriously, which you and I definitely do. I stand by what I say. You'll never hear me grovel or backtrack or try and just because they're there in front of me. I just stood there and I just laughed. And it's like, well, I'm not going to apologize, because you're basically asking. I know obviously he was playing the persona, he was playing a part, and I get that. But if I'd have played along, I still didn't want to play along and say, what? So because we're both, from the UK, you think that I could, that basically means you're asking me to show bias because we have that in common. It's like, well, I'm never going to do that, because I'm not judging who you are or what your name is or where you're from or, what you've done in the past. I'm judging you on basically what I think about your physique, as, they have to kind of respect our opinion as well. Like, I mean, I don't get it too often where anyone gets upset, because most of the time, most of the really intelligent, sort of good athletes, usually 6 months later, they'll actually thank you. They'll actually thank you and say, thank you for giving me some proper feedback. Because everybody told me, like, Blessing, like, everyone told me I had amazing legs, and I realized actually they're not, and I need to go work them hard. It's like, you don't want to blow smoke up their ass, because it doesn't help them. It might, and I'm not here to massage their ego. I'm here to give my opinion and give my critique. Otherwise, what are we doing? What exactly are you and I doing? We're just so yeah. And certainly, I would never allow geographical bias, or sort of that completely, that takes away any integrity of what we do. But anyway, yeah, it was kind of funny. But yeah, so Blessing, I just yeah, he's very hit and miss, isn't he? He's very hit and miss, and there is improvements he does need to make. And I think, I read your interview in MD, and he seems like I've interviewed him when and he's not being the boogeyman, and he's a smart guy. He's not stupid, and he's quite level-headed. I think he understands and he knows what he needs to do. And the thing is, he's still quite young as well.
Only 31, I think.
31. I mean, come
31?
on, he's got what? I mean, even if he's smart and he's with his approach to his bodybuilding, which I'm sure he is. I mean, he could have realistically another good 10 years if he really wanted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last guy I want to talk about in the open is Patrick Moore. We saw Patrick most recently at the Arnold Classic. Not a great showing for him, but Patrick has won shows before. He won the California Pro. Tremendous upper body. And here I go again. I wish his legs matched his upper body, because when someone's got this crazy clavicle width, which he does, he's got these crazy wide shoulders, lats, and a tiny waist. It's a beautiful tapered upper body. You have to have really big sweeping thighs to balance it out. And I'm sure he trains his legs very hard. I believe he tore his Achilles tendon.
Fair play.
Less than 2 years ago. I'm sure he's working very hard, but until I see those legs match the upper body, we all had high hopes for him. It was at Olympia where he took 9th or 10th a couple of years back.
In 2019.
And he looked phenomenal. Conditioned, great poser, everything. Yeah. But I think we all said a little more leg size, and this guy's going to be pushing for the higher spots. The fact that he was top 10 in the Olympia shows the potential this guy has and the physique that he does have. So
Well, he
I'm
beat
very
Luke
curious.
Sando. Luke Sando was looking good. Luke Sando was 12th in that one, and Luke. Everyone was talking about Luke at the time, you know.
Wow.
So he beat some, he beat some really really good pros.
Yeah. So let's see what Patrick has to bring. 212 division. There's only a couple guys I want to talk about. Jordan Janowitz. He was third last year at the Texas Pro in the 212. He turned pro at that same NPC Nationals. He was actually second to Justin Shier in 2021, and they give two pro cards to those.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah,
Remember we were
Jordan.
looking at the show you were at last year? What was it, Tampa or
Well,
was
what's
it Chicago?
Texas? Texas.
Oh, Texas. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
remember the photos coming through, and I was like, because I was kind of, he was one I was kind of wanting to keep an eye on. He was somebody I was aware of. It wasn't a complete shock when he came in, but he was what, like I said, somebody I wanted to see. But my God, when those photos came through, you come just on your cell phone, I was like, wow, this guy is really one to watch. I was so impressed with him. So yeah, I would. I'm interested to see what he's been. I'd like to see him get himself a bit more out there because he competes and then I kind of forget about it. I'd like to see him maybe get a bit more active on social media, or maybe spread some of the shows out. I like him to maybe come to Europe or do a show there, and and get his face out there because I think he's someone I'd like to see more of.
A young guy. You'd think I'm being stereotyping him here, but you'd think the younger people would be all over the social media because
Yeah,
they've grown up with it. It's something that they're accustomed to and very familiar
brilliant.
with.
Oh, he's really good, really good. I think he's excited to see what he's going to bring.
I will mention one last guy in classic. He's a very young guy. I think he's only 22 years old. Jose Raymond is very, very, very high on this guy. Matthew Grego just took fourth in Atlanta. He was sixth in New York Pro. He's a client of Acetos. Like I said, I think he's 21 or 22. He's very, very young, but tremendous potential on Matthew Grego. So best of luck to Matthew.
Oh,
Uh, let's get into a subject that we bounce around topics, and you come up with some really good ideas. This is one that you thought we could probably banter about for a minute or two. Men posting update pictures with their naked glutes facing us, full on ass. Obviously they're trying to show their condition. So should they be doing this? Obviously, they can do whatever the hell they want. It's their Instagram, it's their body. And first of all, Giles, I want to ask you, if this was a woman posting naked ass pictures, would
I've seen it.
anybody? Yeah, I know, I've seen it, but nobody
Oh,
would bat an eye. I mean, I wouldn't be upset.
it's no, it's. I saw one. I mean, I actually saw. I've been following this girl, and I really rate her. And that's another thing, actually, leading on from that. People who, when they put like the drawing thing to cover up the nipples and
They usually put for when it's the groin area, it's either a happy face or for the front or a peach for the back.
well,
Where
they scrub it with the felt tip pen thing, the pen thing.
markup. Yeah,
Yeah, the marker, and it's so small that it barely covers the bits that you're not really allowed to show on Instagram.
Mm.
And I just thought that's their check-in videos and pictures. So that's an interesting relationship they must have with their coach. If they're doing ab and thighs with nothing on,
Right.
or readable biceps with nothing on, I just think what if the coach has a wife or a partner and then they're getting all these progress? I mean, I heard a terrible story once from a girl I had a couple of dates with, and she told me there was this she was telling me when she was a teenager, her and this other girl were being coached, and the coach took her into the posing room at this local gym, told her to strip naked, and got her to touch her toes so they could see the condition in her hamstrings.
Oh.
And I was like, and I know this guy as well. And I went, what? And she says, yeah. And I said, didn't you think that was a bit odd? She says, well, we were young, naive teenagers. And I was like, that should be illegal. That's like Harvey Weinstein shit,
There's a guy I follow, John. Can't remember his last name. He goes by Goob, Goob U2, Goob U2. Have you seen? He calls out people on various improprieties. A lot of people, mostly for photoshopping pictures, but he does get on some of these coaches, and he's posted messages from coaches to women where he says, for your check-in pictures, I always need you to be completely nude. So he's actually some of these coaches, these are like predatory. Obviously, this is not proper behavior, proper etiquette. Tells them, yeah, I want to see all your photos nude. You got to be this and that. But here's the thing: whether you're a man or a woman, and you're sending and you're taking progress pics and you're posting them, they all own posing suits. I'm not saying you have to use your sparkly $3,000 posing suit to take your progress pictures, but surely you've got some old posing suit you can throw on for 2 seconds just to take your picture, or even underwear. Why do you have to be naked?
Lauren had a coach, and like when she started working with him, he sent like a list of and he says no posing in underwear.
Okay.
Not even in underwear, because like he has like a partner and a fiance and a child, and he said it's not appropriate. I want you in proper pose, because at the end of the day, he wants to see how you're going to look, as close to as you're going to look on stage in 10 weeks anyway. So, underwear is different shapes, and so he wants to see the cut. So that's part of, if they're trying to assess it, the bits that are being covered and parts, whatever, is what the judges are going to see exactly. So they want it as close. So like not even actual underwear, because, and obviously sometimes, I think, there's, because obviously so many people now are coached, but I think there needs to be like guidelines. And I think there are definite red flags. And guys and ladies, if your coach is asking for nude, like progress pictures, because they need to see everything, then I think you need to look at your the sort of credibility of your coach, because that is predatory behavior. That's proper. That's how grooming starts. That's how, because obviously we hear about, you get every year you will see some drama about some coach, and then you see the DMs of something where they're pushing the envelope. And I remember a videographer a couple of years ago in over here in Europe, and he got like, it all came out, and then all these other girls came out, and it was creepy shit, And the thing is, I messaged him and I said, mate, I said, cut that shit out. I said, because you're trying to build yourself a good name, you're trying to build credibility and a good repetation. I said, this shit, I said, and if just keep it professional, and I mean, that's why I always said I never want to date anyone in the industry again, or anyone that competed again, after the last one, because I just rather keep those worlds separate, but some of these people, they cross the line, and I think, but there's red flags, and there's these little things like no one should ever be asking you for nude progress pictures and check-in videos.
But what about the people that they're not doing it because the coach tells them to? It's just they want to show their whole body. You're not competing nude.
Yeah, exactly.
We love Ian Valier. We're big fans of Ian, but Ian puts a lot of his ass on Instagram. I'm sure he's just trying to show the condition, but I don't know. Couldn't you just throw on he must have some old posing trunks. Come on, the guy's been competing for years and years. I don't know. Is it necessary to show the entire glute?
And also, you get male and female athletes that complain. They'll screenshot of some creepy DM they've had from someone that wants to pay them $2,000 for this or for that, or they want to just give them money to muscle worship, or just to send photos, or every single we've had them. You and I've had them. Do you know what I mean? Of these, and then they're kind of courting it, aren't you? Courting that kind of. You're going to attract. It's like bees to bloody honey. To is it flower? No, not honey. Yeah. Whatever, you kind of slice to shit.
Slice to shit. There's a better one. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's just you're gonna draw that. You're kind of inviting that in. I mean, I like I'm like you. I love Ian Valier. I think he's a cool guy, but people see that, and other athletes see that, and you think, oh, that's what you need to do, though. That's what we all need, And then it just, and also it makes the industry look like, if it just makes us look like, because I don't like anyone that sexualizes the whole bodybuilding thing. It's like I get annoyed with friends and family that would say, oh, you're up there in your trunks, and it's all about, because it's not, especially the females that have to kind of endure that, it's get a lot of shit from sort of creepos and stuff like that. But like I said, it's I've seen it too often now, and guys doing it. I don't want to see men's bum holes. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it on Instagram. And it's like, yeah, there was someone the other day that posted some injury or something, and I'm just like, mate, I don't. And it was 5 pictures, one after the other, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm sorry. I really don't like seeing that, Ron. I'm sorry. It needs to stop. I mean, remember I used to get really annoyed about people training with their hoodies up. Do you remember that? I used to whinge about that years ago. Only Kai Green's allowed to do it, and then everyone started doing it, training with their hoodies up, and I don't know why it triggered me so much, but like. It doesn't bother me anymore, but this whole naked ass thing, and now I've even seen women doing it, and I'm like, ladies, don't, you're not helping your fellow sisters by doing that because you're not really showing off any more of your physique. It's kind of, to be honest, it's attention seeking, especially for the women. It's attention seeking, and it's those same women that then will then complain about being messaged by creepos. Is basically my point.
We call it a thirst trap. I'm sure you're familiar with that phrase.
Oh, what?
Thirst trap. A thirst trap.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you know that? Yeah, that's when people post pictures to try to incite lust on the part of the viewer, and you get what you ask for.
Or ones where they're or I'll tell you another one. Another one is when guys are in the bathroom and they've got their trousers, they're basically naked on the front, and they're showing off their abs and their conditioning, and you can see the top of their pubic hair where the basin is, And I'm like, or they're pulling their pants down to show their abs, and the women as well,
Yeah,
where they
they
pull
do
their
it more.
pants or their shorts down so far. I'm like, well, your abs are like quite above, about 6-7 inches above that area. So you're not really showing me anything more that's showing me more of your physique that's going to impress everyone. I just think it's like I said, it sexualizes and also undermines, I think, basically what bodybuilding and everything is, in my opinion, anyway.
The thing is, most people, general public, don't take bodybuilding seriously as it is. They think
Exactly.
it's a bunch of narcissists strutting around, mostly naked, all
Yeah.
oiled up, for the prurient interests of the fans. So
Just a
now
few.
you're further cementing that idea in people's heads that, like me, like that's all we are, is a bunch of a bunch of narcissists, exhibitionists. So we're never going to get people to take bodybuilding 100% seriously. I know that, but let's try, guys. Let's try to do what you can to make it appear to be a legitimate athletic competition, which it's kind of a pageant and a sport mixed together, to be honest, but still. Come on, guys.
And also, like a lot of these, the men and women that do that, some of these people have like professional jobs. And
Mm,
I know people that have posted something like that, and then 6 months later they get a job in in a sort of serious profession, and
mm,
then the employer goes through it, and they're like, well, "What's this?" I mean, especially like in the teaching profession.
mm.
I knew a girl once that got fired because of some glamour stuff she'd done like years previously, and one of the I don't know how the headmaster found it, mind. There's some topless pictures of her, and she got fired for it. And she was working with not the word, like mentally challenged children, special needs. Sorry, special needs. Yeah,
Mm, yeah.
and yeah. So, and she was good at her job. She loved her job, but because of some photos she'd done years previously, popped up on the internet, the teacher or whatever, the parent brought it in, made them aware, and they had to fire her. So when you do stuff like that, you're not really helping yourself in the short term or the long term. And also, it's I don't know whether like if you look at Lauren's stuff on her Instagram, there's no there's nothing sexual or stuff like that, because I personally wouldn't be happy about it. But and also, like, she's an accountant, she would get in trouble at work for that.
I mean, you know, I don't. OnlyFans is a whole other subject, but I don't know. There's probably a couple million women with nude pictures and sometimes very sexually explicit videos that they charge membership fees to subscribers. And I can only imagine how many of them are going to face a backlash at some point in the future, a job, something where someone's gonna find it and say, we were going to have you be assistant principal of this elementary school, but we found you have 300 videos of you having threesomes or something. So I don't think
Yeah.
this is a good fit. Sorry, we can't really hire you for this position. It's going to happen.
Right. A few years ago, I was dating a girl, and I really liked her and everything. And then she started. I said, "Tell me about this OnlyFans thing," because I wasn't really aware of it back then. I thought it was, I didn't really know much about it. And then we sat down on the sofa one night and we had a glass of wine, and she basically spoke for about an hour. And by the end of it, I was thinking, as we were talking, I was thinking, I'm gonna have to call this off. I'm gonna have to call this, because at some point, I was gonna have to say to her, okay, then you need to, it's that or me, because if we're going to get serious, like, she told me what it really entails and what people can pay for, like, PayPaling 200 quid or 300 pounds or whatever, and what they could potentially get. I was in shock. I had no idea. And then I thought, and obviously on the other hand, I was thinking, well, if I ask her to do that, to stop doing that, she's going to lose £40,000 a year.
Yeah, well,
£40,000 a year. And she's not making the kind of money that some of these other girls are. Do you know what I mean? So some of these girls are basically, unless they've got some quite a weird boyfriend or someone who's really like, I don't know what kind of man would put up with that, but or someone who's some bum or whatever who's basically getting all his weed paid for. Do you know what I mean? And video games, which I'm not.
Yeah.
I just thought, I'm asking her to give something up really that really I can't replace, and it's so yeah, so it's so, but I think it's a single girls single girls game, that one.
We hope so. All right, well, our final segment is going to be a lot more positive than talking about nudity and OnlyFans and all that. It's Unsung Heroes time again. And this week, you had a great idea. This is a guy I think a lot of current fans don't even know who he was or what he did. Guy from Japan, came to Los Angeles in the early 90s, named Mitsuru Okabe. He started a company called MOC Video Productions. And if you own any of the Battle for the Olympia tapes prior to, say, 2012, the company was bought, he sold his company off. Or if you saw training videos on VHS or DVD from any of these gentlemen, Kevin Levroni, Lee Priest, Ronnie Coleman, all the famous Ronnie videos, Jay Cutler, Branch Warren, Dexter Jackson, Nasser El Somebody, Sean Ray, Craig Titus, on and on and on. They were all done by Mitsuru. Mitsuru Okabe was the only way most fans for many years had access to seeing their favorite pros, like day in the life training. This is stuff that all the young guys now take for granted because all their favorite athletes have a YouTube channel, they have an Instagram, TikTok, whatever. So it's no big deal for them to have this type of access and to see them day-to-day training. But back in the old days, we had to buy VHS first, and DVDs came out of these guys. Usually they were in contest shape. And I mean, the Ronnie Coleman videos alone, some of the most popular, most inspirational training videos of all time. Mitsuru did that. And I want to give him extra credit because, especially the Battle for the Olympias, I don't think he made much money off those. He had to pay the Olympia for the rights to do the video. And then he had to go all over the country, sometimes to Europe, wherever these guys lived. They're 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out. They're not coming to him. He went to them and he would stay there for a few days and film them at his own expense. And man, we have such a tremendous record on video of that era, the 90s and the 2000s, and it's all thanks to Mitsuru.
I feel like he's not just an unsung hero. I think he's a really unappreciated one because even when he was doing these videos, I feel like there wasn't the appreciation and acknowledgement that this guy deserved, because this was pre-social media, but this was in an era when, I mean, now even though the era of bodybuilding today is incredible, there's still a real thirst and hunger for that, for the 90s bodybuilders. And think about if we didn't have the Ronnie Coleman Unbelievable, those 2,500 pound leg press, those 800 pound squats, the 800 pound deadlifts, and now not just iconic, the legendary Maryland Muscle Machine, the M3 video. I mean, I must have watched that 100 pound dumbbells in your face. And all those kind of classic lines. And I just feel like, and I heard he was really like, he was taken advantage of as well by a few of the pros that were like, wanting to be paid and all that. And it's like, I feel like, honestly, looking back, I feel like not only should he have not had to pay anything towards the Olympia, I feel like they should have been paying him. I feel like now, and also I feel like the pro should not have been allowed to charge. Because I think he was doing such a service to the Olympia. Because back then, that Olympia video, that's all we had, really. Like, you couldn't ever get the Arnold Classic on video. I used to have to get a train and a bus to go to the Weeder shop in Cardiff in Wales, to go and wait outside in like October, November. It was like snowing one year, like 91, waiting to buy and it was like a 90-minute video. And that's all I had pretty much from bodybuilding competitions, to see anything, video wise from, so these videos were like absolutely crucial. And apart from the magazines, were the only opportunity we got to see. And it certainly was the only opportunity to see how they trained. Because we didn't know how Ronnie Coleman. Imagine if none of Ronnie Coleman's workouts had ever been documented, because Ronnie didn't go around with like a video crew train. He was like he was in the trenches doing his own thing. I mean, like Kevin Horton. If there'd been no Kevin Horton, we never would have had Blood and Guts. You know, can you imagine? Imagine what we'd have lost out on because there was only those small handful of people, like my friend Paul Baxendale, one of his training partners. He's telling all these stories now on Instagram, and we've telling it, describing certain particular leg workouts, that he's burnt into his memory from 1995 or something. So Mitsuru really. Do you remember he had the hockey pads?
Yes, the knee pads.
No, the hockey pads, because obviously going around with the big. Thing is, he had big cameras, and I
Yes.
mean, I can only imagine the amount of miles this guy did, and a lot of traveling and stuff. But I tell you what, because I heard he stopped because his mother got sick, and he had to go back to, was it Hong Kong?
Japan. He's from Japan.
Japan, sorry, Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had to go back to Japan, and then he kind of sold the company. And I did actually buy the 2012 Battle for Olympia, and it was terrible. It
Oh.
was nothing was edited. You see Phil Heath posing, and he didn't even take his baggies off. He looked really like it just showed you just how well he did what he did. I mean, those videos were so inspirational. Those Battle for the Olympias, like 2-3 hours, and 5 weeks out, 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out of all these different Sean Ray and Kevin. I mean, all the greats: Aaron Baker, Chris Cormier, Paul Dillette. And you got to see a little bit about them as well, and a bit of seeing them eating, and California, and yeah, I've got I mean, I had a pretty big collection. I bought quite a few of his videos, but I hope that he kind of got what he deserved when he was doing it as well. But there's someone that really, I think a lot of people probably don't even know who he is, from in the last, say, 10 years, because obviously we've moved on now into. But like Peter McGough last week, there's someone that I hope is never forgotten in the industry, because from my point of view as a bodybuilding fan and as a media or whatever you want to call me, all different things I've done, I certainly have appreciated his work and watched his videos countless times.
The pros that he did those videos for, they owe him a debt of gratitude, because this was an era when people used to really buy those videos in droves. It's like you had no other way to see these guys train. So I don't know I have no idea how many copies they sold or anything, but they were selling for $20 to $25, I think, per video or DVD. And it was a great opportunity back then. Now they have YouTube and they can monetize it with ads, but it's not. You'd have to get millions and millions of views to make any money on YouTube, for anybody that knows how it works with the Google AdSense. So he did that, and it's also the only record. These guys would have no record on video of them in their peak and their prime when they were at their strongest. Just the Ronnie stuff alone, we would have Ronnie wouldn't have that to look back on. Imagine him being in the state that he's in now, and he had maybe a couple pictures from photo shoots, but this is a chronicle of him, thanks to Mitsuru. I think they did 4 or 5 videos together of him at his best, doing these crazy strength feats that, let's be real, there's a moment in time when anybody, even a Ronnie Coleman, is capable of that, and then it's gone. And so thank God it's captured in perpetuity. Thanks to Mitsuru.
And the beauty of it was the simplicity. And I think I realized how, like I said, I bought that 2012 one. And I think I realized how good Mitsuru's were when I saw somebody else try it, because it weren't as good. And it was, like to go through all that footage and work out what people really want to see. I mean, they were incredible, because I remember we had those. There was a couple of those, a Battle for Gold, and then we had the 86, 88, and then there was a 91 Superstars of Muscle that had Diane Bennett in it. I remember that one. And then he kind of took over in the 90s, and just like I said, thank God that he was around. And think about all the traveling he did, and and also don't forget he was turning up to all these different places with these bodybuilders pre-contest, so they weren't going to be spending time with him and making sure he's picked up. And so he's probably having to turn up at these airports with loads of equipment and booking hotels, and what some of these bodybuilders are like. I mean, they're just focused. They're in the zone. They've got to do what they're going to do. So they're not. They just need to just have him be in the background. So I imagine he caught a lot of shit as well. So all that, like I said, all that travel, all that time, all the editing, all the investment on his part with his time and his energy. I really, really hope he made a good living out of this, because like I said, it's just imagine if he hadn't have been around and not did what he did, because Ronnie Coleman is, itself, it's imagine those original recordings. I bet they're just, it's like those Kevin Horton, the black and white photos. I mean, I'd love to be able to hold those negatives.
Black socks.
I'd love to see those framed. It's like there's
Mm,
something really special. There's something about the original iconic stuff that stays with us forever and kind of changed the sport as well, and also documented the sport when big changes were happening.
mm.
And also imagine the competition seeing. Like, I bet Kevin of Rome was watching Ronnie's and Ronnie's was watching Kevin's and thinking, because thing is, bodybuilders are quite in their own little world, their own little bubble. I mean, Dorian, there was so much mystery around Dorian because like Dorian didn't even train in his own gym when it was open, it was shut. So
Mm.
there was 5 people, like remember Debbie Yates, Paul Baxendale's dad came into the gym once and she said, oh, she can go and wait for him downstairs. She says, but please don't look at them. Don't watch them. No, Dorian didn't even like people looking at him. He didn't like any chatter. They wouldn't even say hello to each other. They just give each other a nod. And then they get the weights ready and like that kind of stuff. It's so what I'm saying is like there's a real, there was such curiosity when the sport was going to another level, like in '91 with Haney, the change over to Dorian and the supersize, and the bodies were getting bigger and more developed and stronger, and and then you had like these mythological creatures like Dorian and Ronnie, and everyone's just like, what the hell are these guys doing? And it was Mitsuro's videos that we got to see that and we still get to see now because and I bet some of these bodybuilders look at those videos now and just think, well, I ain't training like that. I mean, we've never seen another Ronnie or a Dorian or like I mean, like Chris Cormier, like 4 or 5 plate incline barbell presses, and stuff like that. I mean, this is stuff you don't really hear about nowadays.
Yeah. One last thing I want to say about Mitsuru, to his credit, the cameras back then, because I did work in TV production in the '90s for ESPN. The cameras being used back then were these Betacam SPs by Sony. They were about 30, 40 pounds. They were big, bulky.
Yeah.
And Mitsuru was not a giant man. He was probably 5'5" or 5'6". Bulky. He was a husky guy. He wasn't skinny, but still, that's hours and hours of lugging that around, getting all the crazy angles. If you watch the videos, you got that's what they look like now.
That's the camcorder I was using when I was doing all the filming content for MD. That's the one I used. I mean, it's out of date now. It's it's not good enough now. But like that, I mean, sometimes holding that. I mean, I remember being in Temple Gym once, and I was doing. You must have got a Muscleworks or Temple Gym, and I would film a load of people, and I would get like 6, 7 videos in one day, and then I'd come back and get them edited and send them to MD, and like all the Muscleworks boys and stuff. And like after by the second or third one, I was completely exhausted. And that was that. And traveling down to London, I didn't really have much equipment. So someone like Mitsuru, like you're saying, these big cameras, it's that guy worked bloody hard. And don't forget, I mean, I've got my hard drive here now. I'm literally editing Global right now. And I tell you what, the time you have to put in, it's like days and days. And I bet there's some really, I'd love to see maybe some of the unused raw, unedited footage. I'd love to see him do something because I've not heard from him since he kind of went back to Japan. I'd love to know what he's up to.
Yeah. If anyone knows, put it in the comments. I knew him a little bit back in the day because he lived in LA. I was in LA in the '90s and saw him around a lot, and he was such a cool guy. I hope he's doing very well. I hope he's doing very well today too. Yeah, for sure.
I never met him.
Yeah, cool dude. You know what they called him when he first came to LA? He was doing interviews for Japanese Ironman or Flex. I think it was Japanese Ironman. He had an old tape recorder for doing interviews, and it looked like a child's. It looked all bright colors. And they called him. Lonnie Tieper called him my first Sony because I think there was a product there was something that they sold to kids, like a little microphone thing. So he was doing that before he got into the video production. Yeah, hard worker.
I never met him, but I heard he was a bit of a character. Do you know what I mean? He's one of those kind of like Lonnie Tieper, these kind of like colorful characters that kind of also made up what is basically the sport, bodybuilding. It's not just the athletes. It's like people like the Peter McGoffs and the Kevin Hortons and the Mitsurus and all these like eccentric promoters and Mike Glass and these kinds of people that that kind of really gave the opportunities to these bodybuilders to be filmed, to have shows to compete in, and because obviously things have moved on now where everyone's got their own editing software and everyone's their own. It's like I said, there's more to bodybuilding in this industry than just the people that you see on stage. There's so many And that's why I'm glad we're doing this Unsung Heroes, because people like Mitsuru, I just hope they know how much they're appreciated, you know, even today, you know. And like I said, if we can get some, you know, some of the new generation, you know, who sort of, you know, the like you see them in the gym with the tripods and all that bullshit, you know, on their phones. I think maybe they should get a bit of you know, see what really goes into building something like, you know, like a pro level physique, like a Ronnie or a Dorian or a Kevin Levrone or a Sean Ray or a Chris Cormier, or, you know. So it's but it's out there, guys. You know, I'm sure some of it's on YouTube, or go and buy some of I don't know how you get download it, or buy some of the DVDs. And honestly, you'll you know, watch that Kevin Levrone, you know, the Ronnie Coleman doing the deadlift. If that doesn't get you fired up for training, nothing will.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to put a wrap on it for this episode of MD Power Hour. Remember to check out our coverage Saturday of the Chicago Pro. I'll be doing updates after judging and finals. I don't know if you're in on that or not. We'll figure it out, to be determined. We're actually having a meeting in an hour and 15 minutes talking about that. So we'll see.
Lauren was squatting with me last night. She's
Okay.
up to 1 and a 15 aside.
A 45 and a 15?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, 45 and a 20 and a 50, because obviously you have 45s, 35s. We have 44s and 33s.
Okay.
So she
Wow.
had a 20 kilo and a 15 kilo, and she was every rep, 6 reps, and at the bottom of every rep, she was stopping at every rep and coming out, and she was playing with it. And I'm thinking, that's a bikini girl that like is one step. I mean, next week we're going to try for 225, like 100 kilo.
Goodness.
But I think that's really good for like a small,
Yeah,
petite
what does she
bikini
weigh?
girl that's on stage doing pageants, you know, and she's this tiny little thing, and she's there getting under a freaking bar. I mean, it wasn't, she was handling it, you know. So I'm really like, I'm to up my game at the moment to try and stay in front, you know. So, but I think that's really impressive. I've never seen Ashley Coltwasser plate repping away with 2 plates on squat, and I've never seen it on Instagram. So, yeah,
To look at Lauren, I would never think she could move that kind of weight in a squat.
playing with it. She's
So
playing
good
with
on
it.
her. Wow.
Yeah.
Who knew? All right. Well, she's killing the pageant game over there in the UK. So God bless her.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that is it, guys. I want you to please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. If you like the videos, hit that thumbs up thing because you like them. Share them on your social media platforms. Of course, notifications on YouTube, turn those on, turn them on your phone so you know we have great content like MD Global Muscle. That episode's out tomorrow with.
I've got to go and edit it. Literally, as soon as we finish now, I've got to go and finish editing and upload.
Wow, who's in this episode?
Diego Guerra, after the prejudgment before the night show. The full Hassan Mustafa interview, 25 minutes. And, Ross.
Oh, Ross Flanagan.
Ross Flanagan. Yeah.
Oh, you got him. Okay.
Flanagan. Yeah. Really good interview. Really cool guy.
Yeah. I did a little interview with him. Had a lot of fun with him. He's a character
Yeah, I like
too.
a bit of a character. He's a nice new addition to the industry. Because, like I said, I didn't even know who he was until that morning when I woke up and I thought, oh, this must be the guy that won the amateur at the Cali. And then it was like, oh, he won the pro and he beat Tonio and Stu. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? So I've obviously got him on now, and you've had him on, and you know he's got first and then third at Toronto, and the guy is absolutely. But he's a yeah. I'm glad to see like him and Stu, you know, Beef Stew. I think it's nice to see these cool new faces with good personalities, and it's exciting. It adds a lot of excitement to the sport.
All right. So that's it. That is a wrap for MD Power Hour. Please join us again next time. We love your viewership. We hope you keep watching this awesome new show that was, I think it was Giles. It was Jen's idea, this show. Jen's idea.
Good credit.
Jen Geraci, it was all her brainchild, this show. So thanks to her for dreaming it up. I think we've been having a good time with this. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you right here next time. Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.